I'm sure you've heard people say it. You may have even wondered what the heck it means. Or you might have wondered if it actually describes you. Spiritual, but not religious. Welcome to my Thursday musings on compelling faith, which, by the way, is coming out of our Sunday morning sermon series as we're exploring why, according to so many prominent and respected researchers and studies, have shown us what we already know. And that is that while 25 years ago, 70% of Americans identified as being involved in a faith community, today only 45% do. That's a staggering number. And I will go ahead and post that study for you so you can look at it if you're so inclined. I'm Debbie Lyons. I'm the pastor of First United Methodist Church in wonderful Winnsboro, Texas. And thanks for tuning in. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to read your comments or thoughts over these next few weeks. And I welcome all your questions. You're welcome to private message me about anything at all. I've been in ministry in the Methodist Church for 21 years, and I value so much about our foundational doctrine of grace, not guilt. In fact, I spoke about that on April 21st, but there is no perfect church. If there was, we'd all be there. Sadly, there are so many more similarities among Christian churches than differences. But over the years, Jesus' simple command to love God and love others has become very complicated. I will say that no matter where I am, though, over time, a casual conversation with a stranger that often leads them to telling me something about their life that is challenging or complicated. If the conversation lasts long enough for them to ask me what I do, I then listen as they tell me more and more either about their church, or it seems like more and more people are telling me about things they don't like about church and why they are done church. Now, things have changed over time. It used to be that you went to the church where your grandparents went and where your parents went, and we all just followed in our family footsteps. But now we live in a much more mobile population, and the internet has brought knowledge and options, and people no longer feel compelled to be stuck in the tradition that they were born in. In other words, today, most people shop for churches and often move from one church to another, not based on the name on the building or even the doctrine, but more based on the people that welcome them or not, or the pastor and the message, or how the churches serve in the community. Maybe some of you have tried different churches over time. I'm absolutely excited to be with you today to talk about what it looks like for people who are spiritual but no longer religious. Because I do think there are benefits to being religious and being involved in a faith community. And we'll talk about that. Now, again, none of us individually are perfect either. And we don't have to pretend to be perfect. But if we want to be better people, isn't it easier to do that together than we can do it alone? I wonder what faith would look like, though. I wonder how we could have a congregational church that people who are none and done with their faith would want to come back to. I think before we can answer that question, part of what we have to understand in how we can be that church is why so many people don't find value in being part of a church community anymore. Oh, I get it. No one likes to be told that all the fun things in life worth doing are going to send you to hell. Believe me, I don't like to hear that either, although I am perfectly okay. In fact, I applaud getting together with other people who want to work hard to make better choices and be better people. And if we can do that together, then let's go. In the meantime, sometimes in order to do that, it means being selfless instead of selfish. So, why else has there been such a flight from faith? I am sure some of the people who are done with religion feel that they can find more fulfilling information in the religion section of the Dallas Morning News that they can pick up at Brookshire's on Sunday morning than they can find in a Sunday sermon. And yes, finding God in good intellectual articles is perfectly fine. Or finding God in magnificent East Texas sunsets, or in the laughter of a child, or in the sound of the lake water lapping up on the sides of the shore. Those things all strengthen our faith. But how do they help us find God in the face of cancer? How do they help us find God in bankruptcy or divorce? Or when one of their children are abused by a neighbor or their spouse is diagnosed with a terrible illness? Those aren't easy things to handle alone. In her book, When Spiritual, Not Religious is Not Enough, Lillian Daniels says suffering is seldom accounted for in self-made spiritualities other than as something we might overcome by hard work or exercise or therapy or donating money to a good cause that can help. In fact, she remarks that spiritual and religious people are both generous when terrible fires or tornadoes destroy our community, or when there's a horrific death or murder and a GoFundMe page asks for support. But self-guided spirituality is really self-centered spirituality. I think this is why a lot of social media spirituality happening in our world these days. You can usually tell people who are self-made into religion because often their posts are all about their perfect lives. People who have God-given brains, smart people with wisdom, overlook the real difficulties and experiences and say everything is fine, everything is sunset and rainbows and puppies and bunnies, and all their chain posts with their sweet friends are all wonderful. It seems that there are just a lot of people out there who see God as a God of the lucky or the chief priest of religion of gratitude. And listen, I'm a proponent of generosity and gratitude, but gratitude is not religion. Without the benefit of community to help us learn and worship together, places where we can serve others and pray together, there is very little accountability to make choices and decisions beyond ourselves. There's rare authenticity when there's pain and suffering in our lives, and that's real stuff. And there's sometimes a call to action that is necessary. What we can do alone is nothing compared to what we can do together as a community. I think this is why so many of us who are religious can truly relate to why isolation and self-direction isn't always the best way to live spiritually. Listen, when Jesus told the ordinary, very fallible Peter, yes, that Peter who denied his Savior 3 times while Jesus was dying on the cross, when Jesus was explaining to Peter that the future of his mission, the purpose of his church for leaving heaven and coming down to live an ordinary human life with the rest of humanity would rest on Peter's shoulders, Peter pretty much thought, oh no, Jesus, I am no rock. Jesus, what are you thinking asking me to take on the responsibility to build your church? In other words, Jesus was basically saying to Peter and all disciples, listen, you people are stuck with each other. You are the church. And when you gather to do the work that I have called you to do, that's when you will glorify me. And that's when your faith will be so contagious that others will want what you have. That peace, that comfort, that even in terrible times and bad situations, you know you are not alone. I am with you. Now, let's not ever pretend, I won't ever pretend as we come together in these next few weeks, that the church has done some terrible, embarrassing, harmful, awful things. And I, like you, don't want to be associated with any of that myself. But newsflash, human beings do a lot of embarrassing and inhumane, cruel and ignorant things to each other. And I don't want to be associated with that either. But I don't mind coming together to recognize our faults and to work together to try to be better people than we are. And I think there's some accountability in doing that, not alone, but with each other. And here we come to the crux of the problem that the spiritual but not religious people have with church. You see, if we could just kick out all the human beings who are sinners, all the people who we don't like, or who can't live up to our high standards, well, we might really be able to do this church thing together. If we could only just get rid of the Republicans, the Democrats could bring about the second coming of Christ, and NPR would never have to run another pledge drive. If we could kick out all the Democrats, the fiscally responsible would turn water into wine, and the church would never need another pledge drive. But here's the thing, friends. As Lillian Danielle said so eloquently, if we made a church for all the spiritual but not religious people, if we got them all together to talk about their beliefs and their incredibly unique personal religions, they might find out that most of America agrees with them. But they'll never probably find that out. Why? Well, I'm guessing maybe it's because getting them all together would be way too much like church. And many of them might rather just wait for the sunset to find God as they have a cup of coffee on their porch instead of being with us. Tune in on Sundays with us, 10:50 on Sunday mornings, as we dive into what compelling spirituality might look like. And you don't have to check your brain at the door to join us. You just come on. We'll be back on Thursday mornings on Facebook or on YouTube as well. Until then, fabulous week. I look forward to getting to know you.